Hi there, good morning, everybody, evening and night, depending on wherever you are in this world watching this video. This day today is very special for me because we have a very interesting guest on the show today, Mr. Ravi Kumar, who is the Senior Vice President of NTTDATA, a multiple billion-dollar company. Mr. Ravi Kumar has been heading a senior position in this company for a long time, and his decades old expertise, experience, and most importantly the perspectives of working with different people from different cultures, from different countries, thousands of people he has met, he has handled, he has managed. So let's learn quickly about what are his perspectives about dealing with people. And also we came to know that he is writing a book as well. We'll glean a little more about what the book is going to be about, and his decades long experience and insights. We'll pick his brain today and find out a little bit more about his journey and also his perspective. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ravi Kumar. We are so glad to have you here.
Thank you, Ram. Truly appreciate it. It's a wonderful opportunity for me to be speaking with you and the people. Thank you.
So let's start this interview with a little bit about your personal journey, where you started and now where you are. We see it's a terrific journey so far, but let's hear about it from you.
All right, Ram. So, I'm basically a mechanical engineer. I completed my graduation in mechanical engineering and specialized in robotics in the early 90s. And then I joined this, I got an opportunity to join an IT services firm at a young age. And I was super thrilled with getting into the computers field and IT services. Fabulous journey. And after 2 years being in India, I went to the US. I spent about 10 years, mostly in San Francisco Bay Area and Chicago, dealing with a lot of clients, different culture, different people. And after 10 years, right, it was time to come home, and I'm back in India, leading a large team of highly enthusiastic younger generation of people, and it's been a fabulous journey so far for me. And along the journey, I learned a lot, and there's a reason. I got really interested in human potential. How do you maximize human potential, and how do you kind of just do good by the world and the people? I think that's been my focus. Yep.
Fantastic. That's a quick and very interesting introduction, Mr. Ravi Kumar. And my question to you would be like to ask you why you are writing a book and what prompted you to writing a book in the first place.
All right. So, when I came back to India and started dealing with the people, one of the things that always worried me is that the people were like especially the younger generation, massive amount of potential, but I saw the potential going waste. In the sense, people were not really thinking about what they really wanted in life, and more towards what is a job given to them, and just be steadfast on getting the job done rather than thinking beyond what's obvious. That's what really got me prompted to think, there must be more to life than this. Then at that time I realized that I should be studying first. I should learn more before I can start going and talking to people, right? Otherwise, what moral authority do you have to talk to people, to preach people, if you yourself don't know, and even if you know, if you're not following it? That is what really prompted me to just do a learn and then preach. And more probably preach is not the right word, but it's more like collaborate, and getting into dialogue and a conversation with the people. I think that is what really impressed me. The way people react and they respond, right, given the right motivation, right? That's why I always felt maximize. How do you maximize human potential? There are certain levers that you can pull, and you can get people to perform at a level that they never performed before. And I've seen it with my own eyes, and I've seen both failures and super success, just because of implementing some basic life principles. and that's what really prompted me to start thinking about writing a book, and here I am thinking of writing a book. Yep.
That's so cool. And I know it's very early, but still, I would ask you to share some big ideas that you want, that you are writing about in the book. What would those ideas be?
All right. So one of the the fundamental thing I look at is that I'm covering in the book is, why are you doing what you're doing? Right. In my opinion, that is the fundamental question. Why do you exist, and what are you doing, and why are you doing it? Right. Because most of the times that my experience has been that people do what they're told to do, and very rarely do they really think about why they're doing, and are they really enjoying what they're doing, what they really want in life. And that is the what part of it. What do you really want? Right. And that's it's not a simple it is a simple question. It's not there is no easy answer for that. What do you really want? And the interesting thing is that will keep changing throughout your life, what you really want, which is perfectly fine. But the thing is, have you even asked that question to yourself? I feel as leaders and managers, people have a responsibility to start talking to people on those lines. What do you really want to do? Right? Once they come back and tell you, this is what I want to do, the next very important question is why. Because unless you answer that question, why, the what will not get done. Right? For example, me writing a book. I this book writing has been in the process for the past 4 years. Right? But the why part was still, I felt it was a little bit weaker compared to what I am today, what I have today. Unless you know why you want to become or do what you want, what is not going to happen. Right? Why is extremely important. As Jim Rohn, one of my mentors, what he said was, as why gets stronger, what becomes easier. Thinking about it. Why do you want it? Why do you want it? Ask it multiple questions, multiple different ways. He's going to give you some answers, and it is possible that now the what might change. Based on the answer for the why. Once the why becomes stronger, how becomes even more easier. How, in my opinion, should not even be a question. Most of the times people get into how to get things done rather than why they want to get it done. Right? Why, if it becomes stronger, what gets clearer, and how becomes easier. So that's my simple life philosophy, and that's what really prompted me to write this book. That, in my opinion, is one of the biggest ideas. And the second biggest idea is learning. Right? I have, as I mentioned, I have dealt with, and I had the privilege of working with thousands of gifted, really smart young individuals. Right? In fact, just recently I came off of my tour of meeting with thousands of people, 2,000 plus people. Asking them one question, right? What did you really learn in your college? First question. Not a good answer I could get from 2,000 plus people. And the second question I asked was, after you completed your graduation, did you read a book? You'll be surprised, out of 2,000 people, probably 35 hands went up. That tells you that people are not really getting into the habit of learning. Learning, in my opinion, is the only way for anybody to come forward in life. Right? What do you need to learn? There are multiple things, and multiple ways you can learn. But get on the journey of start reading a book to start with. There are other modes of learning, because technology has improved. There are a lot of interesting ways to learn. But learning, in my opinion, is the core, is at the heart of who you are going to become in your lifetime. That's my second biggest idea. And the third biggest idea, in my opinion, is at least that has really worked out well for me, is your integrity. Right? Honoring your word. If you say something you're going to do, just do it. Right? There should not even be a question whether you're going to do it or not. Don't say yes if you want to say no. Right? That integrity is super critical. If you say no, fine. If you say yes, honor your word. What the words that come out of your mouth are extremely important. It has got a huge psychological impact on you as an individual. So be very careful what you say, because people are going to hold you to it, and more importantly, you need to hold yourself for that. And if you maintain your integrity, integrity is very simple. It comes from the word integer. That means whole. You got to be whole. If you break your commitment, if you break your word, then you are not whole. It's as simple as that, right? So integrity is extremely important. From integrity, a lot of other behaviors spawn out of that integrity. Things like being brutally honest and stuff like that. But at the core is integrity. So in my opinion, these are the three big ideas.
Fantastic. So the first idea was know your why.
Yes.
The second idea was to keep learning.
Yes.
And the third big idea was to behold your integrity, like hold on to your integrity very much. That was fantastic. Mr. Ravi Kumar, I also know you also mentioned during a few moments ago that you deal with people. You recently spoke to 2,000 people, and in your journey so far, you have probably spoken to, let's say, millions of people. Maybe you have reached through your work or through your videos, through your presence online, offline, everywhere. So, what would you say as, let's say, three effective ways to handle people? I would say deal with people, or better word is manage people. Three big ideas on effectively managing people.
All right, now this is my favorite topic, I would say. Thank you, Ram. Thanks for asking that. Right. Number one is, I think I briefly alluded to when I talked about integrity. The most important thing is for you to build credibility with people. Right? People should trust you. They don't have to like you, but they should trust you. They should respect you. That will happen only when you are brutally honest. Be very clear what you are asking of people, and what you are communicating, and be very clear, very honest. When you are saying what you felt about anything. And you are dealing with the individuals. It could be your shortcoming. It could be the other individual shortcoming. It could be the great things that people have done. But the most important thing is to be brutally honest. You be honest, then people will come around to start trusting you. They know they may not like you, right? They may not like when you are being very honest. It's perfectly fine. But if you're not honest, then how do you trust? Then again, it goes back to your integrity part, right? In my opinion, that is one of the biggest, I would say, the core at how you want to manage, people, right? And the second thing is leading by example. In my opinion, I think managers and leaders, there are two different breeds. But at any point in time, I would take leadership as the most important thing than management. I think management can be easily done if you become a good leader, right? What is leadership, right? I think the best definition of leadership. I got it from the world's number one authority on leadership, John Maxwell. He said leadership is influence. Very simple. People don't have to be reporting to you, right, for you to lead them. Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi is a perfect example. He is a good leader, fantastic leader. He is still regarded as one of the best leader world has ever seen. But did he have anybody reporting to him? He didn't hold a position of strength or anything, right? It is that leadership. It comes. So for us to be able to, when you are dealing with the vast number of people or any number of people, right, it's very important to lead by example, right? You should, or I will never ask anybody to do things that I myself will not do. In my opinion, that is the fundamental of it. If I tell it is easy as a manager to go and say do this, right? But if you don't believe in it, then it becomes very difficult. One of the things I always look at is hey, before I tell my team to do certain things, right? Have I done that before? Am I willing to put my neck on the block and say that yes, I'm going to do that, and I do it first before I ask the people, right? In my opinion, that is the second important aspect of dealing with massive number of people in general, right? One is how do you what do you expect people to do, and being very honest with them. And second thing is don't ask people things that you yourself are not willing to do. right? I think these are the two very important things. And the third thing is again timely feedback, right? I talked about brutal honesty, right? But what's the point in giving feedback when it doesn't really matter, right? On time, consistent feedback to people so that they can improve. Objective of you giving feedback is not to criticize but to make them better, right? People can think of it as criticism, which is fine, but there should be a learning for people at the end of the day, right? Do they get the feedback, right? Getting feedback is extremely important. Timely feedback is even more important. And what would really help for people is to say what should they be doing. What is your expectation? You can't say that you didn't do a good job. You say that, no, this is what I expect. And if you have a problem, these are the 2 or 3 things you can do. Make it easy for people to tell you the truth, right? It's very important. How do you make them tell the truth? You be honest with them. You tell them exactly what they where they went wrong or what they should be doing next, timely, on time, before time, and what needs to be done, how it should be done, if possible. If you can tell them, people will appreciate, because you can see them growing and they are going to be thankful to you. So in my opinion, these are the 3 big ideas for me when it comes to managing people.
That's fantastic. The 3 big ideas on dealing with people or managing people. And you also mentioned that about influence. So who have had a tremendous amount of influence on you in your journey? Could you name a few people who have had a big influence on you?
Absolutely. I can think of 4 people who, in my opinion, have literally shaped my life. I wish I'd come across them much sooner than when I did. But hey, this is life, right? You take it, whatever comes to you at whatever time. It's very interesting. A story is when I came back to India, and when I suddenly was handed, managing a team of 1,000 people at that time, right? And we were hiring a bunch of kids from the colleges, and we were talking to those people. I was talking to them, and one of the key things I wanted to talk to them, I wanted to impress upon them, was the need to be disciplined. How do you be disciplined? And I thought, man, it will be easier if there are some nice, interesting code that I can use. And then I went and started searching for some of the nice quotes that have been published or that have been said by some people. When I searched, I came across this wonderful human being, Jim Rohn. Right? His quote on discipline is like still ringing in my head. He said, right, you will regret one way or the other, right? And discipline, it always comes at a cost. There is always a pain associated with this, right? And see, where, for example, if people ask you to, or if you need to get up early in the morning and go for a jogging, that's a painful thing, to get up and get yourself to get off of the bed and put on your jogging shoes and to go, right? But that's a discipline that's required. But in the long run, there are all of us have to endure 2 pains, either pain of discipline or pain of regret. Pain of discipline is, that's what Jim Rohn said, that really, stuck with me, is that pain of discipline is probably, it weighs an ounce, whereas pain of regret, it will weigh a ton. It is too late, right? When you get into cardiovascular diseases, right? Because you were not disciplined enough, 5 years ago to get up in the morning and go for a walk or jog, right? Pain of discipline versus pain of regret. This is one of the best quotes that I've ever heard in my life. And Jim Rohn, that's when I got to learn a lot more about Jim Rohn. And that led me to another gentleman, Bob Proctor, an amazing individual, right? He talks about, you tell me what you want, I'll tell you how to get it. His famous saying was, people don't know what they want. That's the fundamentals of it. If you look at my book, right, that's where I start, right? What do you really want? If you don't know what you want, then where do you go? Right? Whatever direction, wherever you go is the way you go, right? Instead of that, if you can just be very clear about what you want, Bob Proctor said he'll show how to get it. Bob Proctor is another of the mentor of mine. And the third person is Jack Canfield, from Chicken Soup for the Soul. Oh my God, the kind of influence that gentleman has on my life is unbelievable. I studied under him. I went to the US multiple times, just to kind of be a student. I learned, studied under him for about a year. It's all about success principles. What are some of the success principles that you should be following, to be really, truly successful in life? Unbelievable. His book, Success Principles, is one of the best sellers and one of the best books I've ever read. So this is another gentleman. And the third person is Tony Robbins. I got to know of Tony Robbins because of Jim Rohn, right? And he's got a very simple philosophy in his life. He says he wants to feed 1 billion people. 1 billion people he wants to feed. I mean, that is a big enough life goal for an individual to have. Anything and everything he does is all focused around that. How do you maximize potential, human potential? How do you help people, right? And then finally, how do you feed people? Anything that he does, any sales he does, any business, any profit he makes, a portion of it is automatically set aside towards feeding people. And I think that's what I really liked about Tony Robbins was that it's not about you. Life is not about you. I think that is another big mystery, and a lot of people, I did not know, many people still don't know, is that life is not about you. Life is about others. How do you help others? I think these are the four gentlemen or legends, I would say, have really had a massive amount of influence on my life from.
That's fantastic. And meanwhile, you also mentioned one book recommendation. Do you also have any other book recommendations for the viewers today? Some books that they must have to read in the next maybe a few weeks?
Yes. I think, the one book that has had tremendous amount of influence on me is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I mean, the kind of pain that he had to go through in the Nazi concentration camp, he literally saw his family perish in front of his eyes. His father died. His mother was sent to gas chamber. He was lucky enough. He barely, escaped the gas chamber because, he was put on a different line. Instead of, being on the left lane, he was put on the right lane, and left lane where his mother was, it went into the gas chambers. He was on the right lane, and, he was sent into the concentration camps. And then he lost his wife too. And for a person who has lost his family, for such brutality, for him to find meaning in that, right? And in my opinion, it is a must read for every living, breathing human being. Reading that book, In Search of Meaning, Man's Search for Meaning, is a fantastic book. You go to Google, there are plenty of videos that are available. It's a free book, free audio book. You can just read it. It doesn't cost you a time, but it's going to make a tremendous amount of influence on you. In my opinion, that, if you ask me, number one recommendation, it is that Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Awesome. And before we conclude this interview, I would also like to ask you another important question. So during this interview, you talked about lifelong learning. So what do you exactly mean by that? And can you elaborate on that aspect, please?
Sure. Again, Ram, thank you for asking this question. You are asking me the questions that I really want to answer, right? Lifelong learning, this whole concept, believe it or not, I learned about it probably about 12 years ago, not before that. I wish I learned it, when I was in school, right? But, this concept, again, I learned it from Jim Rohn. He said very simply, be a student of life. It is such an amazing concept. Be a student of life. Learn a lot. And he said, right, you have to set aside, all of us are earning, you set aside 10% of your income towards investment, 10% of income towards, helping others, and another 10% of income in learning. Invest in yourself. I think that really stayed with me for the past 10 years. I would say I may or may not have done 10% every year, but I'm sure I'm pretty close to that. Every year, 10% of my annual income I invest in learning, invest in myself. Because if you invest in yourself, you can help others in in innumerable ways, right? How do you invest, right? It could be buying books, it could be attending seminars, it could be going and learning video courses, you could becoming it could be becoming a student for some of this of the wonderful teachers that are out there in the in the world, be it US, be it India, Singapore, wherever, doesn't matter. Be a student, learn. There are various aspects of life you want to learn. It's about general life philosophy. It could be about your health. Health is the most important thing. People said health is wealth. Ancient Ayurveda said that, right? Health is wealth. Very important. What about that, right? You need to learn a lot. What about wealth, right? Yes, people say, going after money is like, is mean. I say, man, that's not true. Money is very important. Yes, money is like oxygen, right? Almost, right next to that, right? It may not be the most important thing, but right below that, below oxygen is money. Without money, you cannot survive, right? Money important. How do you make money? How do you make as much money as possible, in the most legal way possible? How do you do that, right? Then you take a look at your fulfillment, right? How do you find meaning in life? How do you how do you get happiness and joy? How do you give others, right? These are all the different aspects that you should be learning, and I'm so happy that I'm trying to cover all of that in my book, and in very simple ways, right? What are the things people can do to kind of make a difference in this world? Ultimately, you become a lifelong learner so that you can help yourself, so that you can help others. In my opinion, that should be the goal for everybody, to learn and make an investment in themselves. Learning. If you're not read a book, start reading a book. And it's easy. Even if you're lazy, if you don't want to turn the pages, that's fantastic, no problem. There are audiobooks. You can just listen to that. There are videos, right? If you're a visual person, you can watch videos, right? Everything's free. All videos are 90% of the videos are all free there. You can learn a lot, right? There is a whole lot to learn in this life. You don't have to be scattered. You still need to be focused, but you should be learning, right? Decide first, you start learning, whatever you can. Get into the habit of reading a book, get into the habit of learning. Then you figure out what you really want to go deep in, so that you can become an expert in that area. So that's my view of lifelong learning. Learning never ends. If you think you know it, that will be the end of your growth. You start going down. Either you continue to grow or you continue to shrink. There is no such thing as status quo. There is no such thing as settling down in life. If your mother told you, get married, settle down, I'm sorry. Settling down not going to happen. You can get married. It's perfectly fine. But there's no question of settling down. So you have to be constantly learning. World is changing. You better start getting adapted. Right? For you to adapt to the world, right, you need to learn. Things are changing. Technology is changing every single day. If you are not up to the mark, you are not in step with the technological changes, world changes, you'll be left behind. You better start learning.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was a very good roundup, I would say. And we are all looking forward to your book and reading your book as well. So thank you so much for joining us on this show. We definitely appreciate your presence.
Ram, thank you so much. Thank you for this interview and asking those questions, because those are all the answers that I really wanted to give, and they are very close to my heart, and I'm very passionate about it. Thank you, Ram.
And in the next videos, probably we'll go deeper into each one of those topics in your book as well. If you would be willing to give us, do more videos with us, so that we can also learn and glean from your perspectives and insights.
Absolutely. Those are 5 or 6 different areas that I'm going to be covering in that book, and we can have a video on one particular topic next time when you want, right? We can talk about career. What are the interesting things that you can do, that you should be doing? Very simple hacks for you to have a very fulfilling career in your life. I've got lifelong experience, lifetime experience. I would like to share that with people. That's about it.
All right. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Ram. Truly appreciate it. Thank you.